right, never mind the abrupt switch from the intro. Let me tell you all, if you ever question my love for you, don't, okay? Because I'm about halfway asleep, y'all. I have had a busy Sunday and I decided to get a workout in, and I about darn well slayed myself in that gym, never mind that I came home to eat potato chips after the gym. Listen, y'all, that's besides the point. I had a really good workout. So needless to say, my body's a bit tired. So if you ever think to question my love and commitment to you, think of this moment. So, as you all know, today we are doing a double feature. All right. So, our first live, which is the one that you're in right now. Okay, class, make sure you're in the right class. You are currently in the first part of our double feature today, during which we are going to discuss the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard defamation trial. Yes, we have yet another celebrity defamation trial going on right now. We're also going to discuss La Diablita from MS-13, which, if you don't know who she is, you will after this. And last but not least, we will discuss Mr. Ed Buck. Again, if you don't know who that is, you'll find out shortly. All right. And so, hello to everyone, those in the chat and those in the bushes, all right? Those who are new and those who are already familiar with the channel. As you know, I say my newbies and my OGs, all right? Shout out to all, much love to all. Christopher Quintero says happy Easter, and yes, happy Resurrection Day to all who observe, all right? Hello to Wings OCOV. How you doing? Hello to the OCOV fam. And of course, a big hello and I love you to Diva. She is one of my favorite people. She's just such a sweetheart. One moment, y'all. People see that I'm live, or maybe they don't know that I'm live, to be fair. But I mean, I always get phone calls when I'm live, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? All right, so let me send this text message. So let's dive right into it. Now, to give us an intro to this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, because you may not be familiar with it, right? I've queued up a video that does a magnificent job of kind of summarizing what has occurred in that case this past week. Okay, so I'm going to play that video for you. It's about, I think, 5 to 7-ish minutes long, and it is a wonderful way for us to segue into the case and into the topic. Hello to Terry, the notary public. Hello, how are you, sir? Okay. Now, before I play that video, in case you're totally lost on this, right? Johnny Depp and Amber Heard used to be a couple, right? They used to be married. Johnny Depp is a quite famous actor. If you're not very good with names, think Pirates of the Caribbean, right? That probably is a movie that right away you'll know who I'm talking about. Captain Jack Sparrow. And so their marriage ended. After the marriage ended, Amber made some statements in which she insinuated that Johnny Depp was violent towards her during the marriage. Now, it began as just statements. She then wrote an op-ed in which she insinuated some more. Again, it doesn't seem that she ever used his name, but the insinuations kind of made it pretty clear who she was referring to. Johnny Depp denies these allegations and he has sued her for $50 million. Okay, so that is the intro to the video that you are about to watch. Let me cue it up. All right, I've got it queued up. So now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. One moment.
Welcome back. In week one of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, we've heard shocking allegations, seen witnesses break down, and others dismiss for watching media coverage of the trial. The lawsuit stems from a 2018 Washington Post article written by Heard. While Depp's name was not mentioned in the piece, Heard alleges she is a victim of domestic abuse. Depp argues he lost roles in both the Harry Potter and Pirates of the Caribbean franchises because of Heard's accusations. After that, Depp filed a defamation suit against Heard to the tune of $50 million. Heard countersued for $100 million. The case began on Monday of this week, where a jury of 7 jurors and 4 alternates were seated after only 1 day. On Tuesday, opening statements were presented, revealing even more striking accusations.
Mr. Depp would often retreat into bathrooms, lock the doors, wait out Ms. Heard's aggression. But his leaving just provoked her more. You're going to hear evidence that when Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard traveled together, his team routinely had to book an extra room for him so that he had somewhere to go when Ms. Heard became enraged.
He rips off her nightgown. He has her jammed up against a bar. He has hurled bottles and bottles at her. He has dragged her across the floor on the broken bottles and the liquor. He has punched her. He has kicked her. He tells her he's going to kill her. He hates her. He's pounding at her, pounding her. And then he penetrates her with a liquor bottle. That's the Johnny Depp that you're going to hear about in this case.
Johnny Depp's sister was the first witness called to the stand. She told jurors about the start and end of Depp's relationship with Heard. She says Heard filed for divorce just days after the death of Depp's mother.
What was your reaction upon hearing from your brother that he was going to marry Ms. Heard?
I was scared. I was devastated, actually, that it was going to happen as quickly as it was being pushed for. I actually tried to talk him into just waiting a little bit longer, just a little bit, and not rushing.
How did you react initially when you heard from Mr. Depp's attorney that Ms. Heard had filed for divorce?
The timing of this, it made me sick, actually. It really made me feel ill. It made me sad, frustrated. I can't even find the word to describe how I felt when I heard that the divorce was filed the day after, while I'm at the funeral home.
On day 2 of testimony, jurors heard from Isaac Baruch, a close friend of Depp's and one of the most memorable witnesses to date.
I'm not angry at anybody. I want the best for her to take her responsibility, heal, and move on. And for Johnny, his family has been completely wrecked by all of this stuff, and it's not fair. It's not right what she did and what happened for so many people to get affected from this. It's insane.
Tammy, was there any testimony that stood out to you and made you think, I don't think Heard was a victim of domestic violence in this case?
No testimony would make me think that. I think that it's just sad all the way around for any victim of domestic violence. This entire situation is unfortunate because myself being a survivor of domestic violence and being a woman that's powerful, so to speak, it's difficult enough to come forward, but to come forward and then face a defamation lawsuit of this magnitude is horrific. And to have anyone negate the allegations, that is another form of abuse, in my opinion. But there's no testimony that I heard that would, persuade me one way or the other, even if Mr. Depp was a survivor of domestic violence.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when Depp or Heard takes a stand. I think that's going to be the testimony that swings us one way or the other. Terry, we've heard about the Depp and Heard's relationship, but how do you think Depp will connect that to losing these jobs?
Well, he's claiming that what she said against him hurt his reputation. And originally in 2016, it hurt his reputation, but it was when that Washington Post op-ed came out in December of 2018, that's when the reputation was really hurt. That's when he lost the Disney Pirates franchise. And so he needs to make a connection between that defamation, what she said, and the lost wages. They've had one witness, his sister so far, who sort of made that connection. She said it wasn't because he wasn't doing well, but he needs to show emails. He has to have communication, perhaps some evidence that Disney dropped him or some other movie dropped him. And that's the only way he's going to be able to show that the false statements were made, that his reputation was injured.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of Pirates of the Caribbean. Maybe it just ended because it ended, or maybe it was because of this. Of course, we'll keep track as this continues. Thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily.
All right. Well, you heard it there on Law and Crime Daily. We got a recap of the first week of testimony in this case. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to bring up for us to discuss. Before I do that, let me do my chat shout outs. Hello to Mara Sharice. How are you, darling? Hello to Indigo Forever. How you doing? Hello to Swan X. Hello to Take R. Kelly, Give Us Back Tupac. And I think I got everyone in the chat. All right. But as usual, hello to all of you who are in the bushes as well. All right. So Mara is talking to us about the article. Now, you heard an article reference that supposedly Amber Heard wrote this article in which she detailed the alleged abuse. I haven't read the article, but Mara Sharice has. And Mara Sharice says that it was a pretty devastating article. She says here, I honestly think he has a case because it was intended to hurt him. She also says about the article, it was very, very, very damning. I looked at him in a completely different way. So based upon what Mara is telling us, we can guesstimate, right? We can give an educated guess that this article was something that could cause damage to Johnny Depp's reputation. Now, I also want to point out that this jury was chosen in one day. Y'all, jury selection in a day is rare. Okay, so we're either looking at a very, very efficient, very, very sophisticated court system, or we're looking at some attorneys who really wanted to get the trial over with. Okay, because jury selection in a day, wow. That means the jury pool was brought in, and you're starting out with, notice I said a pool of people from which you choose together, okay? Each side striking jurors that they do not think would be appropriate. And all of that happened in one day. Okay, wow. Yeah, they're ready to get this over with. Hello to Yahosef. How are you doing? Hello to Spiritual Gangsta. All right. So let's also dive into a few other interesting tidbits that we just got. So we know that Johnny Depp sued Amber Heard for $50 million. And we know that she did what? She countersued for $100 million. Now, if you're having deja vu, you should be thinking Cardi B and Tasha K. And if there's anything that you should have learned from the Cardi B, Tasha K debacle, it is that one should never file a countersuit unless you really mean it. So we're going to hope for Amber Heard's sake that she truly means it when she files this countersuit, right? It's not just something to do, because we've seen how that can go awry. Hello to Rockin' with the Truth. How are you? Mara's giving us another interesting tidbit about the article. She says it was, not Mara, actually. Take R. Kelly read the article. So Take R. Kelly says the article was damning, but it was vague. So let's get into that. What does Johnny Depp need to prove to actually be successful in this lawsuit? We have discussed defamation lawsuits on this channel at least 3 or 4 times already. Okay. We discussed it when we talked about Candace Owens and Kimberly Klacik, and we discussed it when we talked about Tasha K and Cardi B. So I will not be pulling up the defamation statute for you again. All right. You got to run it back to those videos. I'm going to link them in the description here, and I'm going to make a playlist specifically for defamation suits, because that seems to be something that is happening quite a bit. Okay. So anywho, the gist of it is Johnny Depp has to prove that what Amber Heard said about him is not true. So in this instance, he has to prove that whatever she alleged that he did to her, he did not do. In other words, he has to prove that he was not abusive towards Amber Heard. Yes, he has to prove that in order to prove defamation. Specifically, she talks about him throwing her on the ground and beating her and hitting her with bottles, and he'll have to specifically disprove those allegations as well. But the gist of this is he has to negate this idea that he was abusive to her. That is how he proves defamation. So let's say that he proves defamation, right? Let's say he can do that. What happens then? Well, then he has to connect the lies, the alleged lies, right, that she told about him to his loss of income. So he has to provide some sort of proof that Disney dropped the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise because of this, and that, what's the other movie that he said he lost? I can't remember the other movie, right? But he has to provide proof that connect these allegations to the loss of these roles. That, ladies and gentlemen, is where things get difficult, right? Because there are many reasons why someone could be pulled from a movie, why a movie project could be halted, why a movie could really just be shelved, right? There are so many reasons. And Johnny will have to prove that it is these allegations that caused that loss of income. Otherwise, he has no damages, right? Because he's basing his financial damages upon the loss of these gigs. All right, so I'm in the chats. Hello to I Am Queen Newton. How are you? How are you doing? Are you a newbie? No, you sound familiar and you're OCOV. So we're going to say you're not a newbie, but welcome back because it's been a while. I know I haven't seen you in a minute. So y'all, we're going to have a transparent moment. So there are some times when I go live and I get into this like rushed state. I don't know why. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I know why. Because when I go live, I have so much information that I want to share with you all. And it's like I'm telling myself to hurry, hurry, hurry. And that's why sometimes you'll hear me. And I just caught myself, you all, I haven't taken a breath. Like, I need to breathe. I just have so much info, and my mind is telling me to hurry, hurry, hurry so we can get through it so I can be in time for the next live. And it's like, take a second. Y'all, I don't even know when's the last time I took a breath. I'm over here like, I need to breathe. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to get through these three. And if we don't, we don't. But I am not going to be here rushing through my breath trying to get through it. Okay. So, not going to stay on this Johnny Depp and Amber Heard conversation very long because, as I said, we've discussed defamation cases a lot over here. So, what I'm going to do is open up the floor for questions. Okay. Do you have any questions for me about this Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation lawsuit? If you don't, then we're going to move on to La Diablita. I'll give you a moment. Shout out to Doug, one of the world's greatest moderators. Doug is in the building. And per usual, he is sharing the Cash App in case you are interested in giving to the channel. We have quite a few things that I'm considering doing to beef up the channel over the next couple months, including a soundboard. All right, so we got some plans, y'all, and we have another channel on the way, but that channel will be totally different. I mean, totally different. You'll be welcome to join us over there if you like, but it will be Very, very different. Okay. So, yes, shout out to DUG Doug. So, no questions about Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Fine with me. So, we're easing on down the road now. Let's talk about MS-13 and La Diablita. So, when I heard about this story, I was so moved by it because this young lady was so young when she took part in these actions. And now that she's been convicted, she has family that has, stood by her. And she has family that has been supportive of her. And they've said things such as, well, she's young and you have to forgive her and she didn't have parents. And so it brought up an interesting conversation. That conversation being, at what point do you, or rather, can you, no, back to my original statement, at what point do you withdraw support from someone? Right? That is the question. Because as I said when I first saw this video, there are many people who are good people. There are many people who are doing good things and they don't get support from their family members. So to see a young woman convicted of this type of crime and her family members are standing behind her and making excuses for her, it was quite an interesting turn for me to see that, and it really prompted in me
Elements in the MS-13 murder trial.
of course the video has to play. I don't press play, but it has to play. You know how technology is. So it really prompted in me this interesting thought process of, well, at what point? Is there anything that your family member could do that you would say, you know what, this is it. This is it. I love you, but I cannot support this. I cannot be a part of this. It's an interesting thing to consider.
Elements in the MS-13 murder trial on Long Island.
The jury reached a verdict this morning. For some reason, YouTube doesn't care about what I want to do. It's supposed to be for a user to use it, but it doesn't care. Doesn't care how many times I press pause. Take R. Kelly says, MS-13 is crazy scary. A lot of them went into the military to learn tactics and weapons handling. What? Wait a minute. Let me back that up. A lot of them went into the military to learn tactics and weapons handling. What? That just really concerned me. I mean, I thought I was concerned before. All right, y'all, let's jump into La Diablita. Let's talk about her case and simmer on that question because I want to have a conversation with y'all. I mean, I want you, after we hear this story, I want y'all to tell me if you would be in support of your family member after this. Because I'd like to know, because I know so many young people working their butt off and the family members to support them is crickets. But this is what we're supporting. Okay. All right. Listen, I'm done editorializing. I withdraw any personal statements. Let's get to the video.
Elements in the MS-13 murder trial on Long Island.
The jury reached a verdict this morning. CBS News' Jennifer McLogan has been following this case and is live in Central Islip with these details. Jennifer.
Mary Chris, good afternoon. A chilling federal trial filled with heart-stopping evidence, photos, gripping testimony, surveillance phone calls, sobs in the courtroom. 4 weeks ago today began jury selection. Now, fewer than 4 hours into deliberations, a unanimous guilty verdict on all counts. La Diablita, or the Little Devil, as she calls herself on social media, 22-year-old Lenise Escobar was standing trial for quadruple murder. The accused MS-13 devoted associate charged with luring victims into a Central Islip park in 2017, where they were killed in a brutal MS-13 machete attack. Prosecutors called 13 witnesses, including several admitted gang members who testified under cooperation agreements, among them Kelly Gomez, a best friend of the defendant, who described how the two girls coordinated the killings in order to curry favor within MS-13. Lenise Escobar's boyfriend, whose gang name is Cruel, was a high-ranking member. Why were these victims chosen for slaughter, say prosecutors? Because they posed on social media disrespecting MS-13. A fifth victim testified he escaped that night under a full moon, running for my life, chased by gangsters shouting, "Hack him." In a recorded phone conversation played in court, Lenise Escobar tells her boyfriend in coded language,
4 sujetos ya no están aquí, no sé si van a volver nunca, jamás, ¿me entiendes? Se fueron en el tren anoche, ¿me entiendes? A eso, ¿me entiendes? De la cierta hora, ¿me entiendes? Que vos sabés, uno de ellos no, ¿me entiendes? He knows, so now I'm in trouble.
relatives and friends came to court to support her.
God is good. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Everybody, God bless you.
Her cousin spoke last week.
That she was a young girl who had a difficult life, not having a father, not having a mother, being abused physically, mentally. She was a very smart girl who had a bright future.
The horror of the gruesome crime among high school students, more than a dozen are charged in this case as young as age 15, put a national spotlight on Long Island's MS-13 gang violence, prompting the former president to visit Suffolk County.
Stoic is her reaction. She took the verdict as well as a person could, I think. You know, she understands the serious consequences for her.
Lenise Escobar faces life in prison. Her defense argued although she was there that night, she did not knowingly and intentionally murder the young men to increase her standing within MS-13. But getting rid of her bloody clothes and incriminating information on her cell phone, apparently too much for the jury to overcome. We're live in Central Islip, Long Island. Jennifer McLogan, CBS 2 News. Chris and Mary, to you.
Jennifer, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I'll take it from here. Woo, so you excuse me. Hold on one moment. I'm so sorry, y'all. This little animal here, I don't know what his problem is, but I'm busy. And I'm not going to allow him to cause a ruckus in the background for the entirety of our time together. It's not going to happen. Mac? Yes, you all. So, back to Morrison. Oh, no, he's not yelling at you. Yes, he was. And I'm sorry y'all had to hear me get animated with him for a moment. But yeah, he sure was. He sure was. And not because there's anything wrong with him, mind you, because he wants treats. He wants to eat treats instead of dinner. That's what's happening right now. Conflict. Because instead of the dinner that's in front of him, he wants treats. Not going to happen. And he's definitely not going back outside again. That's not going to happen. Now, back to this story. Oh, wait, moment of transparency before we get back to the story. So remember I was telling y'all that I was like, so I thought it was me trying to be in a rush, and that was part of it. But now I'm also realizing that the allergies is part of it too, y'all, because I went to take a deep breath in and it wasn't happening. So I'm going to take some Benadryl in a bit. So anywho, back into this story. So you heard that right. This young woman was 17 at the time, right? At the time. She's now 22 on trial, well, convicted now, for luring young men into the woods, knowing that they would be stabbed to death by MS-13 gang members. Yeah. So, you know, I understand that her cousin was saying that she grew up without her mom, without her dad, you know, and I don't know about y'all, but I know quite a few people who didn't have either parents or appropriate parents growing up. And I'm here to tell you, to my knowledge, they're not luring people into the woods for them to be hacked up, you know? So there's something more going on here than just my parents were missing. You know, there's something more going on there. There is a lack of empathy that is frightening in this case, because it requires an immense lack of empathy for you to talk to someone, meet them, converse with them, and then lure them somewhere where you know they are going to be, well, who cares about Miss Algorithm at this point, right? Where you know that they are going to be harmed, right? in a manner that's going to end their lives. That requires an immense lack of empathy. So listen, I want to share with you all this article that I pulled about Miss Diablita. Oh my goodness. Lordy, lordy, lordy. I'm going to share the article with you all just so you all can see what I'm reading, because it gives you a little bit more context. Now, if you're not very good with Spanish, which they kind of translated it, but the gist of it is that she was used as bait for these young men. And she lured, it seemed like, a total of 5 men into the woods, and one of them ended up escaping. And so ultimately, it is the young man that escaped that was a large part of setting this prosecution into motion. A Jade Stone, how are you? Are you a newbie? I think you're a newbie, a Jade Stone. Welcome. A Jade Stone says, sorry, you do the crime, you do the time. Indigo Forever says, my dogs do the same thing. Mara says, I have one myself, but he's on a timer. He gets a treat at 7:30, so he's indignant at about 6:30 until he gets it. Girl, listen, I'm over here trying to breathe through what I now realize is onset of my allergies. So I'm going, trying to breathe, and I got to deal with him cutting up a fuss with a whole bowl of food over there. It's not my problem that he doesn't want the food. You better get out of here. A Jade Stone says, not a newbie, really? That means you're not here often enough, Jade Stone. And if you are, you got to start interacting with me more in the chat, because I'm usually really good at remembering, and you have a very unique name. So that means I'm not seeing you often enough. All right, let me pull up this article for you all. Oh, yeah, it's allergies settling in. I'm gonna wait until after our second feature to take the meds, though, because I don't want to get sleepy. And even the meds that they claim don't make you sleepy for allergies make me sleepy. Okay, so I don't know who they're fooling. Share screen. All right, so you should now see what I'm seeing. Yes, you do. Okay, perfect. All right, so Lenise Escobar, which it seems that that's her government name. Okay. MS-13 associate named La Diablita, found guilty of helping lure 4 young men to their final end. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this occurred back in 2017. So although she's on trial now, this occurred back in 2017, which is why I said she's 22 years old now. But this happened 5 years ago. Okay, this happened back when she was 17. This is one of her friends. Okay. Oh my goodness. So here is why. In case you were wondering what made these men, quote unquote, special, what made these men a target, these men allegedly had disrespected the MS-13 by posting photos on social media. Yeah, you got that right. These young men, right, all teenagers, were sent to their final rest because they allegedly posted something on social media that MS-13 did not like. So now let's go to my original question. Give me a 1 in the chat. Oh, your name was Jade Smith. Okay. You see, you should have led with that. You should have led with that, because you know I know my people. So I'm looking at you like, are you new? Are you new? Okay. So now back to my ultimate question, y'all. Give me a 1 in the chat if you feel that no matter what your family member does, you've got their back. Give me a 1 in the chat. Give me a 2 in the chat if you feel that if your family member did something like this, you'd have to be like, okay, you know what? I'm done. Let me see it. 1 in the chat for I have my family members back no matter what. And a 2 in the chat for, you know what? There's some things that I just can't stand beside, or stand behind, I should say. Vani says, I used to work in that neighborhood. The school district is terrifying. But I can only imagine. I can only imagine if this is what the teenagers are up to. I can only imagine. And Vonnie, I hope that it ended amicably, and I'm glad that you're no longer there. All right, I see the twos rolling in. I see everyone sending a two. So we all seem to kind of be in agreement that there is a line. There is a certain type of conduct that you're not going to stand by someone after they've been a part of that kind of behavior. That's kind of what I'm seeing in the chat. Okay, so let me flip that for you now. So we know you have a line, right? We know that there's a certain point where you will no longer support someone. Now, the flip side of that, give me a 2 in the chat. No, let me switch it back to 1. Give me a 1 in the chat if you are actively doing things to support the young people in your family who are doing positive things. Give me a 1 in the chat. I'll say that again. Give me a 1 in the chat if you are actively doing things to show support for and to lend support to the young people in your family who are doing positive things. Because we know for a fact that you would walk away if they did something atrocious, right? So are you there for them when they're doing good things? Aha. All right, listen. Shout out to Alana James. Shout out to Ajade Stone. Shout out to Indigo Forever, Doug, Mara Cherise, Von E, Eva or Ava, not sure how you like that to be said, and Spiritual Gangsta. That is what we need because that is probably part of the picture with La Diablita. Part of the picture is probably that she was not receiving support to do positive things. And I'm not saying that as an excuse. I'm not. I am not. But what I am saying is that young people are impressionable. And just as you can impress on someone to decrease their empathy for others, like this gang did with La Diablita, you can impress on someone to increase their empathy for others, like older family members can do when they support younger people in their family who are doing good things. All right. Nappy Yankee is in the building. Nappy Yankee says, like this video, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Okay. That's not me saying that. Okay. That's Nappy Yankee. And listen, I don't think you want to get on Nappy Yankee's bad side. You know what I mean? He's like the YouTube king out here. So you might want to just do what he says. Hello to Let Me See Your Transcript. It's been a minute. How are you? How are you? I hope you're well. All righty. So listen, that's all I've got on La Diablita. Do you all have any questions for me on her before we move on over to Mr. Ed Buck? Because I tell you, this Edward Buck story is something that's going to, I mean, if you haven't had a story that blew your mind yet this week, this one might just do it for you. This one might just do it. So let me know if you have any questions before I move on. All right, I don't see any. Let me see your transcript says, I've been good and you. I've been wonderful, darling. I've been amazing. All right, wonderful, amazing, marvelous, blessed, and glad to be alive. All right. Okay, so I'm going to move on to Ed Buck. Y'all, my leg fell asleep. No lie. We're having so many transparent moments today. And to give you an update on my previous story, Mac finally gave in. He finally realized that the treat was not going to happen. And he just went and ate his dinner. Now he is curled up in his bed with his blanket. Yeah. Yep. Mara Cherie says, the young woman's family reminds me of Jussie Smollett's family. Yeah. I mean, but mind you, Jussie Smollett's conduct and La Diablita is like night and day, right? But I can see what you're saying. All right, so we're going to ease on down the road to Ed Buck. Listen, let me bring up the article that I have queued up for you all. You should be seeing it. Are you? Yes. Let's scroll it up some. Now, before we do this, I want to say, as Nappy Yankee always reminds me, everything you have seen in this video is being used for fair use. Being used for fair use, being used under the fair use exception. Okay, so let's be clear about that. If you need more details on what fair use is, check out my description box. Okay, y'all, here we go. So this man that you're looking at, right? This man whose picture you see here, this is a younger picture of him, by the way. Okay, let me pull up like a barrage of different pictures and share that with you first. Because you might be looking at this person like, who is that? That is a much younger picture of Mr. Ed Buck. So let's do this, y'all. Okay, wonderful. All right, so this is a more, all-inclusive picture. So this is a recent picture of Ed Buck here, right? That's the picture that is really circulating around. Then you see this younger picture, right? And then you see a picture of Ed Buck with Hillary Clinton here. You see, I don't know what that is as far as Ed Buck is concerned. You see a much younger Ed Buck here. Look at this black and white photo. Uh-huh. Younger, okay, more recent. And so you can tell just from this photo that he's been active in politics for decades, right? Look at this picture. For decades. Mm-hmm. Let's continue scrolling, see what else we find. Okay, it looks like these are the pictures of the two victims in this case. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think those are the two victims. Okay. And so, as you can see, Mr. Ed Buck, as I said, has been active in politics for many, many, many years. All right, so let's go back to the article that I originally pulled for you all. Ba, ba, ba. All right, here we go. All right, let's get into it now. Oh, Alana is laughing. Alana, I'm assuming that you're laughing at the me and Mac saga. He's sound asleep now. One of Mac's secret talents is how quickly he can fall asleep. Okay, let's get into it. So, wealthy donor Ed Buck, again, if you're unfamiliar, Edward Buck has been involved in politics for decades. He has been behind a lot of your most popular Democratic candidates, including Hillary Clinton, and he donates massive amounts of money to Democratic candidates. Okay. 30 years in prison for you see what happened and causing the passing away of two men. Okay. So Edward Buck was found guilty on charges that he injected these people with this substance in exchange for an interaction with them. Interesting exchange. So he was exchanging allegedly this substance for whatever interaction with them. Okay, so let's see. He was found guilty of 9 counts. So 9 different criminal counts, including having a home in which there was illegal substances, distributing illegal substances, and also enticing persons to solicit their bodies. So in other words, these charges say he had the illegal substance in his home, he would give it to people in his home, and he was contacting men, I guess via, social media, right? Some sort of online thing, and enticing them with the illegal substance, right? Saying to them, hey, I have this, I have that. If you want some, you can come over to my home to get it in exchange for intimate interaction. I'm in the chat. Mara Sharice wants to note that he targeted Black men and men of color for years. Wow. Wow. So Buck is 67 years old. He was found guilty in July by a federal jury on all 9 counts. Now, this sentencing closes a long saga involving Buck, in which prosecutors say that Buck used his wealth and influence to prey on and exploit Black men. Oh my goodness. For encounters at his West Hollywood apartment. The encounters involved Buck giving the men money to use substances. Oh my goodness. And then interacting with them. Officials said Buck would give the men substances with or without the men's consent. That's strange. So, this alleges that there were some men who maybe didn't even consent to this. Huh. And sometimes when they were unconscious. Very interesting. Chelsea Norrell, an assistant U.S. attorney, stated Buck used his money and privilege to exploit the wealth and power imbalances between himself and his victims, who were unhoused, destitute, and struggling with addiction. He spent thousands of dollars on illegal substances and party sessions that destroyed lives and bred insidious addictions. Wow. Jamel Moore, 26, fatally, at Buck's West Hollywood apartment in July of 2017. A second man, Timothy Dean, 55, passed away nearly 2 years later in 2019 from a fatal dose of an illegal substance at Buck's home. It wasn't until a third man overdosed twice at the apartment that Buck was arrested and charged. All three men were Black. Let that sink in for a moment. It sounds like Mr. Buck had been up to this for quite some time, but he never got into any sort of legal ramifications. And then, even when he did, right? So, even when authorities were getting involved, it took 3 men passing away at his home. 3 men passing away at his home before they decided, oh, well, yeah, we're going to go ahead and arrest him. We think he needs to be arrested. I mean, if that doesn't blow you away, I don't know what will. I don't know what will. And, it's reminiscent of a story, well, rather a documentary that I watched a while ago in which, oh my goodness. It's reminiscent of a documentary in which I'm laughing at you guys' comments, in which there was a man that had caused the death of over 30 women. And it wasn't until he had reached what I think almost 33 women that someone finally arrested him. And by the way, y'all, this man was Black. He was a Black serial killer. Oh my goodness. Well, might as well say whatever I want now. We're done. This is why I need my own platform, y'all, because it ain't no way that I could talk like a 5-year-old. So yeah, this man, Black serial killer who had caused the death of over 30 Black women before somebody finally decided to do something about it. And this feels like that. I remember watching the documentary and thinking like, but how on earth did he get away with it so long? I mean, but how on, and this is the same thing I'm thinking about Ed Buck, but how on earth did he get away with it so long? But we know how, right? We've heard enough about Ed Buck to know how. And we're going to leave it at that. Oh my goodness. This article. Buck was nicknamed Dr. Kevorkian and had at least 10 victims. Oh my goodness. Allegedly, one victim was unable to move when Buck injected him. Oh my goodness. He later added that when Buck wanted him to leave his home, Buck would become frustrated and obtain a power saw from a closet, turn it on, and approach the victim with it. What? What? So when he wanted this young man to leave his house, he would threaten to what? Hack him with a power saw? Ugh, this is crazy. Prosecutors urged the judge to sentence Buck to life in prison, saying that he used human beings as playthings. Buck's attorneys sought a 10-year sentence rather than relegating him to death in prison. They asked the judge to consider Buck's drug addiction, which they say developed because he had a medical condition. They also say that Buck suffered abuse at the hands of his father and several priests. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm telling you, this is crazy. Letitia Nixon, Moore's mother, said in a letter to the court that she hoped Buck would receive the maximum sentence. Nixon, a certified nursing assistant, said she could not comfort her son the way she has for countless people who are passing away. Oh my goodness. She said, all I can think about is how my son passed away. Oh, y'all, this is heartbreaking. I don't know if I can finish this. Okay, Buck asked for leniency before he was sentenced. Buck said to the court, I ask that the court take a look at my life in total, rather than the horrible caricature the government painted me as, a substance-fueled axe killer. So instead of saying, I'm sorry to the people who passed away, instead of saying, I'm sorry to the families, this man got up there and said that the prosecution painted a caricature of him. What? What? Instead of saying, I feel the deepest remorse and I feel empathy for the families that have lost their sons, this man got up there and said that the prosecution painted a caricature of him. You know, he's confused because a caricature is if someone gets up there and they start going, hey y'all, I'm Felicia, hey y'all, right? They're doing a caricature of me. A caricature is not someone getting up there and providing evidence that I'm axe murdering people. Okay? That is called a trial, not a caricature. Buck is a wealthy white man who was active in gay causes and animal rights and has given more than $500,000, mostly to Democratic politicians. All right, y'all, listen, I'm not reading any more of this. I'm not. Towards the end, they talk about a victim of Buck's that ended up escaping. And it's his account that actually led to Buck being arrested. Okay, so note what I'm saying. Buck got away with this all these years. And what finally led to his arrest is that somebody escaped. Again, go back to the story I gave y'all about the black serial killer. Same thing. Same thing. He had killed over 30 something women. And he only got caught because one of them survived. This woman was so brave. One of them who survived would not give up because she wasn't the only person that survived. There were people that survived before her and filed police reports that, by the way, the police ignored. This victim would not give up. She kept going to the police like, hey, I filed that report. What's going on? What's going on? And it was her that finally led to his prosecution. So a lot of similarities there. I can't remember the man's name. And I wish I could because it was a good documentary and it was something that maybe we could review. But what a brave woman. It's survivors like that woman and like this young man, what's his name? Brown. What's his name? I don't see his first name here, but we know that his last name is Brown, right? It's because of survivors like that that, you know, these types of predators are usually eventually caught. Oh, y'all. That was a lot for me. I'm sure it was a lot for y'all. What's up to Fat Boy? How are you doing? I'm sure it was a lot for y'all because it sure was a lot for me, y'all. I am I mean, that was just woof. So listen, 30 years for causing the death of two people is nothing. I saw 30 years. I don't know if you saw something different, but I didn't see life in prison. I didn't see death penalty. I saw 30 years. And yes, he is an older man who will more than likely pass away in prison, right? I get that. However, comma, when you cause someone's death and you're convicted of it, usually the sentence is life in prison. And at the end of the day, life in prison means something different than 30 years. 30 years means you can get out. Life in prison means life in prison. They are not the same. They are not the same. So let me ask you in the chat, what do you think about the 30 years? You think, whatever, it doesn't matter because he's old, right? So give me a 1 in the chat if you think it doesn't matter, he's old. Give me a 2 in the chat if you think, no, it's the principle and they should have given him life. What do you think? 1 in the chat if you think, what does it matter? He's old. 2 in the chat if you think it's the principle of the matter. There are 2 people who have passed away and he should have been given life. I'm seeing quite a few 2s. I do see a 1. I see, let me see, your transcript is a 1. But I see most of you are saying 2s. So let me ask you, let me see your transcript. Why is it being that you're the only person who said 1? That's why you're getting singled out because everybody else said 2. So I got to pick on someone who's different, right? So let me see your transcript. Could you tell us very briefly, why is it that you think, hey, it doesn't matter? Why is it that you're saying, oh, well, he's old, it doesn't matter? Any thoughts on that? Indigo says, is there a possibility of parole? Good question, Indigo. I don't think there is, but let me double check that. Because I didn't see any mention of it. And usually when there is a chance for parole, they'll mention that. Okay, we're going to go with probably not. We're going to go with no, there is no chance of parole. Hello to Octavius Prime. It's been a while. I hope you are well. Let me see your transcript. We're waiting on you. I just want just a little bit more as to, the thought process behind, oh, well, he's old, it doesn't matter. Not to say that I disagree or agree with you. I'm just curious because, as I said, you're the only person that said 1. Okay. All right. So let me see your transcript says, well, in this case, his age and 30 years she sees as equivalent to a life sentence. And many people are saying that, right? That's not something that is far-fetched. Many people are saying, what difference does it make? He's going to die in prison anyway, right? Well, y'all, listen, this was the first of our double feature. You're getting a lot of me today. You're going to see me again. I'm deciding if I'm actually going to wait until 7 or just come back to you all at 6:30. Oh, let me ask y'all. Do y'all want me to wait until 7 and come back with Nature Boy at 7? Or do y'all want me to just take half an hour and start Nature Boy at 6:30? Tell me in the chat. Give me give me some numbers. Give me a 1 if you want me to just come back at 6:30. Give me a 2 if you actually want me to wait until 7. All right, Jade says 6:30. Let's see. Okay. SC says 6:30. Okay, so most of y'all are saying you want me to come back at 6:30. Okay, fair enough. Sounds good. So we will be back at 6:30 with Nature Boy. I'll edit the time for the live so it'll start at 6:30. And I will see you all in 30 minutes with the Nature Boy saga. My goodness, if we thought that we needed some assistance with this Ed Buck thing, gird your loins for this Nate. Oh my goodness. That individual is he's got to be one of the most unique individuals on this planet. Okay. All right. Oh, a couple people said 2, but you guys are outnumbered. So I will see you all at 6:30. All right. Bye-bye.